you articulated it quite frankly very well. I'm not sure I'd add very much to it. We focus a lot on liquidity. Cash is king. With all of our portfolio companies, and again, this is all public knowledge. We have about close to $2 billion of cash at Clear Channel. We've done the same thing. We've got a significant amount of cash at Univision. So when you look at that, having the cash and I call it the dry powder in your pocket is critical. And the reason why it's critical is of everything all of us have talked about in the other panels. So you can just take advantage of the environment that's out there, and that could be in terms of maximizing value on the balance sheet, in terms of buying back debt out there, in terms of taking advantage. When we just talked about acquisitions and M&A coming back, you want to you hate to say this, that you want to take advantage of other people's woes, but the reality is if you look at some of our portfolio companies, we're seeing the cash, we're seeing the great management teams that have more bandwidth. And one of the things you want to do in this environment strategically, if the management team is a big strategic asset and you have cash, is to go out and maybe buy some other companies at the right time. Then you kind of get back to John's point, is how you really decide what value is to go out and buy those companies. So it's not, I think the simple answer is, cash is king. You want to have as much as you could have out there, both in your portfolio companies and quite frankly, and I'm sure John would feel the same way within our funds and within our firms. You want to have the ability to go out and make investments in this environment when you can feel comfortable about value.
John, just on that same subject, are you seeing opportunities to buy distressed debt or other assets, and how do you think the TARF program is going to help to inject additional liquidity? And the Fed's action yesterday, are these all things that you expect to help out in the near term?
Yeah, there are a number of trends going on all at the same time. One is, and I tend to deal mostly with earlier stage investments, which is associated with innovation in the economy, which is part of the president's agenda. And a couple of things are happening there. First of all, there's actually a lot of great stuff around. You have experienced management teams, second, third-time entrepreneurs. So you actually see the maturing of that in terms of the quality of management teams and the ideas. At the same time, however, the whole venture business was based around multiple rounds of financing. You maybe get an angel round, and then a first round, a second, and maybe a C round. And that was kind of the standard accepted practice, and different folks would come in at different points, and other people would step up, and that was sort of the thing. Now, anyone who comes and says they need, 3 rounds of financing to get to cash break even, no one's looking at them. You got to be able to get to a break-even point in your first round, or literally, not a huge second round. It's a whole different mindset. And then, as an investor, you have to assume also maybe nobody else is coming in. Maybe no one else will come in. So if I invest in this company, I have to be prepared to carry it myself all the way through. And that's very different than it used to be, where you have a group of folks who would come in, as I said, at different stages. So in effect, the bar goes up. And everybody is waiting for how does that change. And obviously one change is certainly companies started to be bought and there were more exits. That would be one thing. Because funds are all conserving much more cash now to put behind the investments they've made. And then the other wild card is the government. And is the government going to provide stimulus either in a variety of different ways around discussion, from tax breaks to actual cash into innovation areas that they target. And that's the wild card. And I don't think anyone knows yet how that will play out. They've certainly put it on their agenda, and they've talked about it publicly, but it hasn't materialized on the street. So I think you have, in many ways, in the industry at large, something of a pregnant pause at the moment where there is a lot of cash that is being reserved for companies that people have made investments in, and people waiting for a catalyst as to when to either release that cash and invest in new things. And I'm not sure I like this answer, but it might have to be the government that provides that catalyst. I'm not sure I know that as the perfect answer, but it may be the reality.
Is that answer, do you think that comes from the public-private partnership or somewhere else?
I think it could. I think that, again, the problem is now no one can see where exits are. So if you don't see where an exit is, are you going to enter?
Right.
if you can't see where the exit is.
Yeah, Robert, I'm sorry.
We can concur. I mean, liquidity is the lifeblood of all businesses. And we've always had, as you know, we've always had strict underwriting practices. And we always, for as long as I can remember, we always funded business plans. We never wanted to get into a situation where we want to fund and take a bet on a company raising fundraising year round. So it's, although the levels have increased in terms of our floors, I mean, it's very simple. Stick with, you know, the top businesses in our sectors, you know, focus on management teams. We love those leverageable business models where the incremental revenues drop to the bottom line. Keep it really simple. We focus on cash flow as well. We obsess over cash flow, so I think that's a critical piece, especially being a debt provider, because that's really the lifeblood of our business.
And what do you hear from the companies?
No, you know, I think, you know, so two things. First, on the debt side, I just want to highlight one thing because I work for a bank. You know, I think banks are lending. You know, I think if you look at after Second World War, 60% of the lendings were done by banks. If you look at last year, only 20% of the lendings were done by banking. So we have this huge shadow financial market that were investors like you, and you know, people call them money market funds. So I think, you know, so the government, you know, needs to be involved on that. But in terms of what I'm hearing from the company, look, you know, I cover two categories. You know, if you look at my digital media, internet categories, these companies are cash rich. You know, again, going back to, if you look at the companies that have both $3 billion market cap in the internet and e-commerce space, they generated 39% growth in the free cash flow last year in a trailing 12-month basis. And the very low capex intensive business, so they're doing well. On the traditional media side, you know, the large cap companies, I think, you know, more or less they're cash wise, you know, I think, you know, these are high grade, you know, so I don't have that much distressed companies that I cover, at least in my portfolio.
All right, great. So I wanted to switch gears. Actually, this question is related to the